Well, as I said earlier, primarily driven by costs associated with restructuring of the business, but overall it was a tough operating environment as well. High inflation rates, heightened insecurity and prolonged famine as well, leading to considerable pressure on disposable income. Just what kind of impact have we in turn seen on the Kenyan cigarette market?
Yes, as you rightly say, Alicia, 2009 was a difficult year for many companies operating in the Kenyan environment, and our business was no different. You've mentioned the effects of the drought that we had, food shortages, high inflation, all putting pressure on consumer incomes. The net result of that, based on independent research, was that the Kenyan cigarette market shrunk by approximately 5% in 2009 compared to 2008.
At the same time, you've got an issue like illicit trade really hampering things, where it makes up, 12% of total market consumption as well. Run us through the challenge that's presented there.
Well, the challenge with illicit trade, one, of course, is getting accurate measurements of the size of this problem. Counterfeiters and other illicit traders are getting increasingly sophisticated. The quality of the product sometimes is quite hard to distinguish from genuine product. The routes that they use to round-trip product destined for export out of Kenya but finding its way back into the domestic market are increasingly sophisticated as well. Those are the sort of challenges that we're facing with illicit trade. It hurts government revenue. It hurts our business, and potentially, consumers are consuming product that whose provenance is not really known.
As such, we've got this extreme emphasis being placed on government and for it to equitably enforce the Tobacco Control Act. While issues there need to be resolved, though, you're still needing to effectively compete in this market. But in a context where there's a regulation in place to ban advertising of your products, what's your strategy moving forward in terms of ramping up sales?
Well, a few minutes ago, we talked about illicit trade. There's still, at 12% of the Kenyan market, illicit trade is still a growth opportunity for legitimate players. At 12% of the Kenyan market, that is quite a significant growth opportunity. In addition, of course, to whatever share we can get from other established manufacturers. But in addition to that, we, from a growth perspective, outside of the domestic market, BAT Kenya's Nairobi factory is becoming an increasingly important regional manufacturing hub, and we supply products to a number of many commercial markets out of our Nairobi factory. And in fact, about more than 60% of the volume that is produced in Nairobi is destined for export. Later on in the year, we will be commencing the export of cat rag, very significant volumes of cat rag into Egypt, that will further reinforce the Nairobi factory's status as an export hub for the British American Tobacco Group.
This to an extent working then to mitigate against some of the hefty rises you're seeing in operational expenses. To what extent is the Achilles heel for the company this, cost implications of actually increasing production levels? I mean, what cost-saving strategies have you been forced to employ?
Well, obviously, we have had to expand production capacity in the factory in order to cope with whatever export volumes we can get. But cost consciousness and smart cost control is always at the forefront of our minds. Some of the initiatives we have in place involve working smarter, leveraging on our scale both as a company within Kenya and as a member of the British American Tobacco Group to get whatever procurement efficiencies we can get from buying at a large scale. We also constantly look at our organization structure and look for opportunities to further optimize in terms of headcount and see whatever opportunities we can get there. Energy costs are a big concern for us. Last year, in 2009, energy costs were up something like 30%. So any initiatives that we can put in place to save energy, we always continue to look at those.